Welcome to the channel. Have you ever wanted to try airbrushing but didn't know where to start? Well, Tulin sent me their new airbrush kit that's supposed to be geared towards beginners and have everything you need to get started right out of the box. So keep watching as I check it out and see if it delivers. If you're not familiar with Tulin, they're a non-brand online tool store that works directly with the same manufacturers that makes tools and accessories for the big brands, but without the branding, so they get to offer the products for a deep discount. Their new airbrush kit is being marketed to beginners as it supplies everything you need to get started without needing to run to the store. So let's take a look at what comes in the box. Here's everything unpacked. It's a nice little setup. Let's start by looking at the documentation. No one really reads manuals, but this one is actually pretty well laid out. It has a nice breakdown of the airbrush, so it'll make it easy to take apart for cleaning and put it back together, or if you need to change needles. It's also quite detailed on how to use the airbrush and how to clean it, and also mixing paints. So it has a bunch of great information for anyone that's not used to using an airbrush. The kit also comes with these practice sheets that new users can use to get used to operating an airbrush. It has different spray patterns to show what happens based on how close you are to the material, and also a bunch of lines and different configurations you can use to practice moving the brush consistently. Last is a color wheel, which is great if you're new to painting. It shows you which colors go together, and also if you're mixing paint for the first time, it'll show you which you need to mix and how much to get the different colors you want. The compressor looks like a nice little unit that comes with a pressure regulator. The compressor itself looks similar to the one I already have. I think they're all pretty much the same, but this one has a nice case wrapped around it and a holder for your airbrush, which mine does not. Since my Apple Watch can measure sound levels, let's try this unscientific test. This is just my normal talking voice next to the machine. Now, I wouldn't pay too much attention to the actual dB numbers being shown on my watch, but more to the fact that my voice from behind the camera was louder than the compressor running right next to my watch. There should be no issue for you having this running beside you while you're working and bothering you or anyone else in the room. This kit also came with some acrylic paint. There's no branding, so I'm not sure who makes them, but they seem fine to start with, and it's nice to have them included so you can start using the airbrush right away. The kit comes with red, blue, green, and black colors, and then a bottle of thinner and cleaner. Since these are acrylic paints, soap and water should be fine for cleaning up in most cases. The cleaner is thus there for really tough jobs. For their accessories, you get a nice braided air hose, which is quite flexible. And then inside the case, there's other assorted items. First, you have a mixing bottle. It's kind of big relative to the paints that come with the kit, but I could see it being useful if you're mixing your own paints in larger quantities. There's a set of brushes that are used to clean the airbrush, and then it also comes with two more needles, a 0.2 and a 0.5. The airbrush already comes with the 0.3 needle installed. The 0.3 is a medium-sized needle. You would use a 0.2 for doing smaller fine work, and then a 0.5 for spraying larger items where you want to spray a lot of paint out all at once. Then you have some fittings. The brass one is an adapter that would go to a normal commercial style hose. The other fitting is a quick connector for the airbrush. This way you could easily separate the airbrush from the hose without having to unscrew it. The last parts here are the nozzles for the 0.2 and 0.5 needles. They have to be changed as a set. And then there's a bag of a few assorted gaskets in case some go missing or get damaged. You also get this squeeze water bottle, which is great for when you're cleaning the airbrush or when you're mixing paints. Now for the star of the kit, the actual airbrush. The brush itself is pretty solid and has some weight to it. It comes with the larger paint cup installed and has a lid to avoid any spills during use. The brush is a dual action brush, which means pushing down on the lever will cause the air to spray, and then pulling back will control how much paint is released. The knob on the back is a stop that controls how far you can pull back the lever, so this way you can control what your maximum paint flow will be. The smaller cup that's supplied is also great for doing small detailed work where you're not using a lot of paint, so you don't have to worry about filling up a larger cup. The front of the airbrush unscrews to expose the end of the needle and the nozzle. There's a little custom wrench included to remove the nozzle itself. When changing the needles, you would end up replacing the needle, the nozzle, and the end piece all together. The nozzles themselves are very tiny, so when removing them, you have to be careful you don't lose them. Also, they have very small threads, so when removing and reinstalling, you have to be careful not to over tighten them, as it'll be easy to strip the threads. Alright, with that all out of the way, let's run some paint through it and test it out. Once you get the hang of using the airbrush, you probably won't need these test sheets anymore, but in the beginning it's good practice to let you get the hang of how to operate the brush and how it behaves. Moving to painting models, the brush does pretty well. You get a nice even spray pattern out of the airbrush, and the compressor can keep up with spraying for an extended period of time. When using acrylic paints, cleanup is pretty simple. You just need to run water through the brush to flush it out before it dries. Here I'm using an airbrush cleaning tank that doesn't come with the kit, but you could just as easily spray into a cup. To wrap this up, I think this is a pretty solid kit for a decent price for everything you get. If someone is new to airbrushing, it gives them everything they need to get started, but also allows them to upgrade in the future as needed. These compressors are pretty tough, so you should get many years of use out of this one. The airbrush also seems pretty nice. The only issue I could see is that the nozzles are very tiny and there's a potential for them being lost or damaged. But as long as you're careful with them, you should be fine. But also, as you get better, you may want to upgrade to a different airbrush, which you can just add to this kit. The included paints also seem decent, but they're consumable and will need to be replaced anyway, but they're great to get you started. The only color that's missing is white that you may want to add. That's all I have now for my initial impressions. I'd like to thank Toolant for sending the brush out for me to try, and I'd like to thank you if you made it this far. If this kit is something that interests you, I'll leave a link down in the description so you can go check it out. Thanks for watching.